on this than I am. What is the farthest someone's ever done a laser test and measured no curvature?
That's a good question because those tests they've done aren't conclusive.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a good answer to that because I guess the longest one would be the FE core one. But we've never really seen proper results for that. There's this story about how it was the observation sort of accidentally occurred at the last minute. And we've never seen that observation. We've seen pictures of a laser hitting a target and with no explanation. And then when they were asked for an explanation, it turns out that target was only 20 meters away and they were just demonstrating it.
Exactly.
So,
furthermore,
no real evidence.
They say they have a photo of the real thing, or they say they did the real thing, and they've been promising to sort of present it, presently for about a year now. It's not clear why they're not doing it, but they do say they have it. We just are waiting still.
That was actually February 2017.
We're waiting for a special time or a special occasion.
Exactly. The right time. That was February 2017, wasn't it?
And this is supposedly proves that the Earth is flat, and yet they're sitting on it, which makes no sense. And like I say, there's a whole story surrounding its occurrence. That they were sort of packing up. They packed up for the day, and someone went out to check on something on his own, and he saw it, and it was they weren't all there looking at it.
Part of the problem too is just the confusion around the topic, because it's like, it's hard to get them to sit down and calmly sort of engage, and it's hard, in an open way, and them meaning like the people who were actually there. And there's tons of misinformation that sort of propagates around it. Well, I heard this, and I heard that. And, well, I heard so and so say this. They were going to release it on a special event. Well, I heard so and so say he definitely saw what this. Without any kind of clear, single message from an authoritative source who was there, it's really hard to know what to make of it.
Well, Scott, did you see Slice Barcane interview FE Core?
Yeah, I did see all that. That's the closest we've gotten. That's why we're basing everything we're saying off what he got and what the guy said in the interview and all that. But other than that, it's not like they're forthcoming about making this clear. You know what I mean?
That's right.
I'm not even sure if FE Core still even exists exactly. That guy that runs FE Core, the one that got interviewed, when was the last time he said anything?
He lived.
Right. Yeah.
I had to take a phone. So I didn't get
have you guys personally sorry what was that?
I said I had to take a phone call, so I couldn't hear your answer, but I heard the first part, which was laser tests and not being able to see curvature. So I wanted to clarify my statement when I said proof positive for a flat Earth. Those were two denials of a globe, denying curvature, denying lasers curve like every other kind of light.
I think
when I said proof positive, what are the positive evidences for a flat Earth, not just the ones that detract from a globe Earth?
So, well, the one that really, the lasers measuring no curvature, you don't agree with that, okay? Let's see.
No, I don't agree with it. It's not proof positive. You can say there's no curvature, but it doesn't. It doesn't automatically flat.
She wasn't taking that
the same thing to me.
Let's see. The whole water not conforming to a ball, but then again that can be explained with gravity, and they disregard gravity over there. So that's another one.
What were you going to ask us before?
I was going to ask you if you guys have any or know of any experiments that do measure curvature. Does anyone in here have? I'm not trying to I just want to see if anyone has ever measured curvature.
I don't. I haven't done it myself, but I know of one who's never been refuted by flat Earth. That's Miles Davis.
Yeah, Miles Davis is probably the best one, and there's George as well, who's done out and sound.
Inco showed that he wriggled that Eratosthenes thing.
So we've got a few that have done stuff. I think Miles Davis is probably the most compelling and accessible one.
Okay, yeah, I'm gonna have to look into that.
Let me find it for you.
And we have some pictures that are taken that are very, very high.
No way, thanks, Scott.
So I was actually gonna save up some money here because I was gonna take money. I was gonna save up money for a weather balloon, and I was gonna send it up to space, and I was gonna try to see if I could see any curvature, whatever, and that would really verify it for me. Because watching these videos, like I've seen videos that they have over there where they take a weather balloon and they don't see any curvature, but I've also seen videos where there is curvature. So which one am I supposed to believe?
Yeah, right.
I can do that with you, Soda, because I'm actually working on one myself. But when are you supposed to be going to San Marcos?
I'm moving there in August, so pretty soon here.
Yeah, I mean, I have one that I'm not going all the way up to the upper atmosphere. I was actually going to keep it on a string. But Lewis, who lives in Kansas, he was talking about sending one up there. So.
Yeah, I was gonna do that myself. I was also gonna try to get a laser too, to shine one and try to see if I can measure any curvature rate. But they told me not to do that over there in Flat Earth 24/7 because they said that I could just it would be cheaper to just do a weather balloon. So I was like, okay, yeah, maybe you guys are right. So, if I had unlimited money, then yeah, I would get a laser and a weather balloon. But then again, I am a kid, according to you guys, so I don't have.
Yeah, don't worry about what people say in the chat. People say stuff about me all. People talk about.
I don't really care.
So, but with Cordis, he's a guy who he comes in here. Anyway, he brought up a simple test one time. I thought it was just crazy that see more people doing that. But I think flat earthers actually done this before. But it's just basically you have like balloons. Let's say like you have a long lake or something like that. So you have somewhere where they can be far away enough to where the curve should be obstructing part of what you see, and then you should be able to raise a balloon up, let's say like 10 miles away, and see like exactly how much of the balloon you can see. Like if you have like flags on the string or something like that, and so you can actually go different distances and see how much the curvature of the Earth is actually obstructing the height of a balloon or something like that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna have to look into this more because again, I've just been receiving all of their information without, I've been looking at their sources, right? But I haven't really been questioning them. I've just been like, yeah, okay. But now I'm trying to. Now that they put this label on me over there, I'm gonna start trying to understand what they're saying. Have you guys presented any of this gravity stuff to them? The modern gravity experiments.
Yeah, they've seen it all.
Yeah. Some of the people here were banned for saying hello over there.
We presented everything, pretty much everything. They've seen some version of almost everything, and it never seems to quite catch. When we think it's really, really compelling, invariably it sort of just doesn't seem. They just still seem to notice, and then sometimes they have valid complaints, valid criticisms that make it less compelling than we thought it was. But usually they just sort of don't notice. It's kind of weird.
Yeah.
Really have you guys seen the memes they made about y'all's server? They're kind of funny. I'm not gonna lie.
Well, yeah, no, Flat Earth kills us on memes. They're so much better at meme game than we are. It's unbelievable.
They got some funny memes over there.
I don't know about that, Scott.
We've got the greatest meme people.
Yeah, some good memes, but the thing that we can beat them on is speed. Flashburn can create a meme in 0 seconds flat, but in terms of the overall quantity, they do have a speed.
I posted that video, Soda. Did you see it fly by?
I'm watching it. I'm about to take a look at it right here. Coming.
Okay, you don't have to watch it now. Just
we also tend to stick by the truth rather than just make shit up.
That's the problem. The meme is not a good way to have present an argument. In fact, it's a terrible way to present an argument. So we just don't go there. It's right. What's the point?
Yeah, so there's a lot of different proofs in quotation marks you could use. You can use scientific method in experiments. You can use trigonometry and geometry. If you don't want to spend money, I would definitely recommend the geometry part because that pretty much holds true no matter what. And I think the one thing that most flat earthers don't get is that since we are on a world that is spherical, all their observations will be spherical based, even if they interpret it as flat because they have no basis of comparison. They've never actually seen a flat plane and a flat horizon to compare it with. They just have an idea, a concept of how it would look, and they attribute it to how it looks now. So it's really hard to argue that.
Okay, yeah. Yeah.
I don't know if that made sense to you, but I tried to.
So what do you guys think about the weather balloon footage where how some here, let me show you guys a picture that they like to use a lot over there. I'm sure you guys have seen it. I'm about to put it in the debate chat box. I just want to hear what you guys have what y'all's response is to this because honestly, I don't really know what to think, right? That makes sense.
I think with all of these, I think it's easy to go to these videos and grab a frame where the horizon looks flat. Mm-hmm. But usually what we see is the camera swings around a little bit. And as the horizon moves, from the top of the picture to the bottom, we usually see it changing from a convex curve to a concave one. And, at some point it's a straight line or thereabout. So I think that's the problem with it. You can always grab a frame from it, but
like in the picture you posted, Soda, I think the general consensus is if you want to flatten a fisheye lens out, you make it horizontal with respect to the center frame, and you can already see that that's about 10 degrees below center.
Yeah, again, and it's also the difference between the Felix test jump and the image that is at the bottom is that his is showing a much more it's showing more of the you can see more of the glow, the frame is less zoomed in, if that makes sense. They just showed a clip where it's flat, they didn't really.
I think also if you look at the back of the capsule there on the Felix Baumgart, God, no one. You can see the back of the capsule is actually slightly curved. Mm-hmm. So this is a very fisheye lens so that it can be not too far away from this capsule and still see it all. So the curvature of the Earth here is greatly exaggerated by this lens, just like this capsule, which was straight at the back, actually looks a bit, a little bit curved, so. Exactly. And then on the bottom one, I think to me, that looks like that's a concave. Yeah. It looks slightly curving in. So, and I think if you watch the whole Piggy Cam video or even a few minutes of it, you'll see it swinging between convex and concave like this.
I'll show you guys. I'm sorry.
The best one, I'll finish with this, Coach. The best one, I think, is Dwayne Kellum, because he is a flat earther and he's an expert in these balloon launches. I think he's done like 200 now or something. He's done a lot anyway. And it's definitely something where you get better with experience. And he's used rectilinear lenses, which are flat lenses that don't distort the image. And we say he's got a curve, although I'm not sure he would agree with us. But yeah, Dwayne Kellum, he's got a good channel worth looking at.
And all I was going to say was that Litchwink, he made a video a long time ago that really kind of showed the Felix Baumgartner flight and with the camera. So the camera on the outside, what Jem said is correct. You can discard it because it's got a curve. It's obviously a fisheye lens, but there's a camera in the capsule as well. And so he's he went to 3D programming and basically showed the drop of the horizon and the curve of the Earth and that kind of stuff, and how at that altitude it conforms with all that stuff.
Okay. So what's y'all's biggest proof for the globe then? You guys asked me my biggest flat earth proof. I want to hear what you guys think about the globe.
We don't see far enough. That would be mine.
Pictures?
We don't see far enough.
Pictures from space. Pictures from space is mine.
A ridiculous number of pictures.
If pictures are allowed to be proof positive, then pictures easily do it. We have satellites in Lagrange 1 and 2 that can take pictures of Earth. We have GPS and working air flights, all that kind of stuff has to conform on a sphere. The fact that we have no maps that are 1-to-1 scale with no distortion means that there is a curvature. Otherwise, why do we have maps that aren't distorted? There's just so much. Sunrises and sunsets can't happen on a flat Earth, and I know that's a negative proof, not a positive one. But we see sunsets, so there you go.
Yeah, lunar eclipses and flip moon phases for me in New Zealand, and I've lived in the northern hemisphere and the south, and so the moons definitely are flipped. I can confirm them, and then I had flat earthers confirm what they saw on the supermoon in May this year.
So what do you guys have to say? So in regards to eclipses, what do you have to say about the Selenian eclipse?
Yeah, that's easy. That's easy. At first, I know that it's called the impossible eclipse, right? But the Selenian happens before sunrise and after sunset, right? And so it's when the moon is actually below the horizon, but due to the sun being on the other side, the refraction bends the moon up. But at that point, you can imagine that the Earth is actually directly in front of the moon, and so the shadow is actually being cast on the moon, and then that image is being bent up towards us, and that's why when the Selenian finishes, it finishes in the sky when the level of refraction gets too low that it can't keep the image going anymore. It doesn't actually set or eclipse like normal. It can be explained in one picture, which I'll get for you in a second.
Yeah, just squishes.
Yeah.
And also, like every sunset. Sorry,
no,
I was just saying every sunset. It's the same. Like you might not trust the equatorial mounts on like a telescope or whatever, but if you have it track the sun all day, it'll make that 15 degrees per hour. Except for it's not going to be matching the sun at sunset and sunrise because of the refraction. Refraction causes it to appear higher than it is, and so it causes it to make it seem like it's going slower as it's getting to the horizon. And the truth is, when it's setting, like before when the bottom of the sun or the bottom of the moon is at the horizon, at that point in time, most of the time it's actually below the horizon already. It's just being refracted above it. Yeah. So when you see the Selenian eclipse, if they're both above the horizon just barely, it could be the case that they're both actually below the horizon and just being refracted up.
Yeah, you can also use North Pole and Polaris. You can track your latitude based off of the angle of degrees in the sky as Polaris dips down as you go further and further towards the equator. You can also use trigonometry and say if you extend a triangle with the right angle from North Pole to Polaris, you can extend a triangle out indefinitely, and the angular change won't be great enough to make Polaris disappear, which also disproves flat Earth.
Not to mention the South Celestial Pole is completely impossible on a flat Earth. It's in opposite directions, stationary.
And I see that every night on a clear night from where I am here in the south. Minus 45 degrees latitude.
So it's not just one singular one, so if that answers your question. There's no one singular piece of evidence that's like, bam, definitive.
Yeah, it's the cohesion.
It's an amalgamation of all of them.
Yeah.
And they don't conflict with each other, they fit perfectly.
Gotcha. Okay.
Mine are less obvious, but I think more critical, in my opinion. Even though it was kind of addressed, I know what's his name. He brought up a whole bunch of them anyways. But yeah, he said one about the sun setting. And yeah, I kind of alluded to the 15 degrees per hour. That's kind of a deal breaker for me. And plus the lines of latitude and longitude. Again, he brought up how they Polaris can define the lines of longitude at least, or lines of latitude at least north of the equator. But if you look at the way all of the lines are created, that it's impossible to have them lay out on anything other than a sphere. To be honest with you, because like I said, they have two poles. They converge north and south. It wouldn't make any other shape.
Gotcha.
And just so you know, Polaris is 45 to 60 plus degrees for me here in New Zealand, below the horizon.
Okay.
It never comes up over the horizon. And the thing is, if it did, then it wouldn't be in the north for where where they can see it. So for me, that's the end. Because if you took a globe and you put yourself in New Zealand in the South Island in Christchurch, and you drew a line through the Earth to point to Polaris, it would be the same angle at which it tells me to point my telescope, if I had one. Which to me kind of destroys any argument that Polaris is lost just due to perspective. It's never in the direction of the sky for me.
Hey, Soda, how is your geometry? Is that something that you're familiar with, or are people confusing you when they talk about stuff like that?
It depends on what aspect of geometry we're talking about. I mean, in school, I've always done good in math classes. I've always had A's, so I guess I understand it.
You do trig?
Trig, yeah. I took pre-calculus, and I took calculus. So, yeah, trig was a big part of that. So, yeah, I'd say I didn't do good in calculus, if we're being honest, but I did pretty good in geometry.
Yeah, you should be able to work with that geometry with Polaris and the distance and the angle and all that, and see why that does not comport to observations from a flat Earth. That should be in your wheelhouse.
I'm gonna save that. Is it the image that NASA sent? Or where's the geometry?
A lot of it in the. Sorry, go ahead, Curve. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say Kosho's probably got gifts and all that he can show you, or put it across to you better than me explaining it in words.
Well, I was just gonna say in my paper I posted, I actually I discussed that. I showed I made pictures of them too, but that was what the paper was about, and the test was about the geometry. It was with the sun, but Polaris and the sun are going to behave the same way when it comes to latitude lines. So it was just describing how something that was right above the North Pole or the equator, whatever it was, how the distances would change as the angle changed, the angle in the sky changes, how it would do that on a flat Earth, and how it would do that on a sphere. And there's one big distinction, and someone will find the picture, or I'll find it in a second. But the distinction is that on a flat Earth, as the angle changes in the sky, so if it's 89 degrees, 88 degrees, 87 degrees, on a flat Earth, as that gets lower, it's going to get further and further away. So each degree is going to keep getting further and further away. Whereas on a globe, on a sphere, as those angles change, as it goes from 89, 87, 88, 87, and goes down each one, they can be equidistant apart and still keep that linear progression. But I'll show you a picture so it makes more sense.
The Slacker just posted a graphic about a minute ago. Slacker, if you catch that, that would be something that you should save.
All right, yeah, I just saved it. Someone said I'm not trying to change their minds, but I want to try to figure out this for myself,
With people are going to talk shit, so you don't have to take it.
Oh yeah. It's the internet, of course. That stuff is going to happen,
So the one thing I like about using geometry and trigonometry as a basis for your arguments is that you can frame it in both a flat Earth perspective and a globe perspective, because a lot of times they'll be like, well, you're just reifying the globe when you use, calculation. It's like, well, with trigonometry and geometry, it's independent. Math is independent of the shape of the Earth. You can plug in both and see if it matches reality.
I've heard them rebuttal the geometry. I've heard them get into debates with people, with globers specifically, when they use geometry to try to prove the globe. And the one rebuttal that I've heard a lot from them is that, you can manipulate geometry to fit whatever model you want it to. So geometry isn't really verifiable because you can manipulate mathematics to fit whatever you want. Like you can make a mathematical equation for anything. So why should we believe the you know what I'm saying? Like that's what
the important thing about that is what they're saying is that you can alter the product of your mathematical equation, and then you can fill in the variables to match the product, which yes, you can do. But we're not talking about doing that. We're saying let's fill in the variables and see what product we get, and then compare that product with what we experience in reality. If they match up, then it matches reality.
Yeah, right. And then they say
question?
the globe isn't reality. Yeah, what's up?
Yeah, what he said is very important, but I'm curious, what was the very first topic that you brought up as far as FE proof?
Oh, I said the FE core experiment, the lasers tests, and the long distance observations.
So, how do they know they saw too far?
Well, the argument is, well, if the Earth is curving at a rate of 8 inches per mile squared, then we should be seeing some type of drop, but we're not seeing this drop.
So it was mathematically determined?
The whole argument is that the mathematics of the globe don't fit reality. Like the given measurements that they give us for the globe are not in cohesion with reality.
Mm-hmm. But how do you come to those conclusions?
Right. By taking the laser and shining it across a body of water and measuring no curvature.
Right. Well, let me make it clear. A moment ago, you presented the argument that mathematics can be manipulated to get you a result.
Yeah, right.
The first proof presented required mathematics to determine how far you should and should not see, right?
Correct.
Which means that their positions a bit contradictory, don't you think? If on the one hand we use
why I'm here.
mathematically determined values. Yeah.
They use math when it only supports what they're like. They love math over there. They always claim they love math and science over there. But then they claim whenever you present them with math that supports the globe, well, then you're just manipulating it, right? Like they use math only when it works in their favor, and I don't like that.
Sounds like a good point to present then.
Well, people have presented it to them, and then they just, go off into a monologue on reality and observable reality, and the globe isn't reality. They just go off. You've heard them before. I'm sure you've talked to them.
Sure.
Yeah, it's frustrating to argue against, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. It's a lot to take in over there, but again, I'm not trying to talk bad about them, but some things they say I do disagree with, and I've never really spoken up about it because I knew something like this would happen, right? Like the minute I started coming to Cunny's side, well, he goes in there a lot and debates with them. He actually just got banned, but yeah, the minute he goes in there, I'm always like, yeah, maybe Cunny is right. And I'm like, guys, give him a chance to respond. Because genuinely, I want to hear what he has to say, right? Like, I'm not even just trying to, say that because he's my friend. Like, they don't even give him a chance to reply over there.
Say that for me, too. And they used to get mad when you did that.
I have a question.
I did that to Kosho too. At first I was obsessed with Kosho over there to them, but now I'm obsessed with Cunny. Like, no, I just want to hear what these people have to say. Like, I'm not obsessed with anybody. I'm not, like, that's not what this is about. This is a debate, and they're treating it like it's not a debate. They're like, well, this is our server. You came here. This is our territory. Well, then again, you guys always say how everyone's opinion is welcome, and, but then you're just going to be disrespectful. Well, no wonder no one wants to come over there and debate with you guys because you don't let them debate. It's not even a debate. At that point, it's just a conversation.
Welcome to Animal Farm.
It's almost as if they wear a mask of intellectual ability and interest in debate, but behind the mask,
they say the same thing about you guys.
Sure, but consider what these folks do over there. That's where they live. I talk to them about their real lives. They're psychologically broken.
That's what my dad says, because my dad knows that I come on these like flat Earth forums, and he knows that I talk to people like this, and he's a glober himself. Like he's like a hard glober. Like my dad is a scientist, a chemist, so he works with and he travels a lot too. So he's always trying to shove information down my throat, and he thinks that they're all like losers and no lives. And they're like, "Well, bring your dad in here to debate with us. I bet your dad would be able to debate with us." So I'm like, "Dude, like I'm not bringing my dad onto Discord." Like,
Yep.
Being a debater doesn't mean you're right.
yeah, they always use that to their advantage. Like, they claim to win every single debate over there, but at the same time, it's not even a debate because they don't even give people a chance to debate. They just talk over each other and start calling each other idiots and using all these ad hominems that are literally irrelevant to the argument. But again, I'm not going to talk bad about them. They're my friends, right? Like, I'm not here to shit on anybody, but I am questioning a couple things that they say because, well, I came over here to talk to some people with other opinions, so I'm not here to like I'm not spying, if that makes sense.
Gem Panda and Curved are big fuzzy teddy bears, so you're always welcome here, and you can debate.
Oh, that's not what I heard. That's not what they told me.
You can debate any topic, and you will be.
I'm not trying to debate because I really don't want to debate with you guys because I feel like I'm not like I don't know enough to debate with you guys.
Even teddy bears have teeth and claws.
Yeah, we'll just ask questions then, Soda. Hey, Soda, you know Jin, right? Jin CBR1.
Oh yeah, he's my friend. I love him. Yeah.
And you know Demok as well.
Oh yeah, yep. No, I know them. Yep.
Yeah, I used to be on Flat Earth panels with them for about 10 months, and they've still got the same arguments since 2018.
Yeah, Sheeple, were you a flat earther at one point?
That's what I'd have to say that I was long enough in the Flat Earth panels to deny. But I was never convinced. But I remember one day when I was asked whether I was a flat earther, and I just said, yeah, I am, because they were so paranoid about me doing anything, and it kind of reminds me of you saying looking into the globe. Whenever I brought anything up about the globe or the debates that were happening, they were like, oh yeah, military men, or or whatever. There was no no credibility, no credible source from the globe side that I could present them. And then it was one day that they let a glober on, and he silenced the whole panel, and he just kept asking me question after question about the model, and I'm thinking to myself, this is where the so-called veterans will step in and give all the answers, and they didn't. So I went looking for the answers myself and realized that it was fun. They were good guys and partying everything, but they were just stuck in a loop, and then years on, they're still there. They're still there. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, they say that you guys have no new arguments for the globe since 2015.
Yeah, they need to say that.
I mean, we don't have any new arguments for the globe since what, 500 years ago?
What do you guys think about the Black Swan?
I wanted to talk to you about that. I wanted to talk to you about that, right?
Poorly written Modus Tollens argument.
Yeah, classic. Yeah, that's even that's a computer programming thing, though. Like, I don't understand why they brought that up, but yeah, I want to hear.
It's a form of logical argument. It's not a computer program.
I got two questions that I've always wanted to ask you about that. Or a flat earther willing who stand behind the Black Swan. And the first question is, do you have any problem with the fact that the straight piece of metal is bent over 45 degrees vertical?
First of all, what piece of metal are you talking about? The oil rig?
On the crane itself, yeah.
Is it bent?
Oh yeah. I'll give you the comparison. And the second question is, this phenomenon appeared for a certain amount of time and then disappeared for the rest of the day. Do you find that a consistent observation that you could make if it disappears?
Are you saying that the oil rigs will eventually disappear due to the conditions throughout the day?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, so the rebuttal to that, because I've heard that brought up before, is that you can go out there yourself and you would get the same observation. So I don't understand how regardless of what time of day it is, I don't understand how that would change the fact that that this happened? Are you saying that this picture was taken at one certain time of day and can never be taken again like that because
no. It's not that it can never be taken again. It's just that pictures like that are rare because the conditions necessary for it occur only on very few days and only when conditions are right on those days.
But it's a video. It's not a picture.
It's a video. Yeah.
But it's just a bunch of photos merged together.
But that doesn't change the measurements that were made in those pictures, right? That doesn't change the observer height, the distance from the observer to the platform. It doesn't change the height.
Or right, that observation happened. It just had to happen under specific atmospheric conditions to produce that particular amount of refraction.
Yep.
So you guys are saying that it's
refraction, which was reproduced in this refraction simulator.
So you guys are saying that the reason that it doesn't work is because of the refraction that's taking into play the image.
Okay, well,
the Black Swan has to make the argument under the idea that there is no atmosphere and that the Earth is a perfect sphere. Those are the assumptions that are necessary for the Black Swan to be an argument. And since that's not true, the Black Swan is actually built on false premises.
Yeah. And also,
so what is this picture that someone Slacker just sent in here? What is this? Is this I see
That's from the Metabunk refraction simulator that Phil Kao posted a few minutes ago. They've got a bunch of presets of different refractive conditions, and someone went in there and found what refraction was required to cause the Black Swan image, because that's not a picture taken from the Black Swan video. That's just two images of those oil rigs at the specific distance, and then doing the path tracing to simulate the refraction to produce that image.
Okay, yeah, so I'm still not, I guess I'm just not understanding. So, okay, so people, maybe I'm just like not getting what you got. So refraction did take into play, but what would that change? That's what I'm confused.
It changes the way that the light bends. Like in particular for this simulator and the kind of stuff it accounts for is conditions where you have specific layers of certain temperatures in the atmosphere, which happens a lot over water or early in the morning or something like that. And that's what that graph in the middle bit of that picture is. That's the temperature gradients above the water that they put in to reproduce the effect that we see in the video. And this is, like I said, simulated the atmosphere, the index of refraction of the air at those temperatures over the spherical Earth. And you get that picture, which matches what they had in their video.
Cool. Are you saying that if, so say I went out to those oil rigs right now, I would not be able to make the same observation that this person made, because it was a different time. And
highly unlikely.
It would probably have a different temperature gradient, so you would get something different if you found a similar.
So what is temperature gradient change here? That's another question I had.
Yeah,
temperature gradient changes across the day, and it's different on different days depending on the weather.
Of course.
It matters over water, because when you have a temperature change from over water, you get a high amount of refraction because the air is more dense and the light has to pass through it, which causes a greater degree of refraction. So when you have a high temperature variance from the surface of the water to right above it, you get that huge amount of refraction. And if you think of it as a bell curve, on 95% of the days, you're going to see a picture that looks fairly much like you would expect to see. But on the fringe ends, on the outliers, you will have days where you get an enormous amount of refraction due to higher temperature gradients across the water.
That's part of why they're like
this particular day. Sorry, this particular day, you also had an effect that's relatively uncommon on top of all the other things called temperature inversion, which if you look at the temperature gradient graph, that's where you have cooler air next to the water, a layer of hotter air at about, what they put here was 60 feet above the water, and then it gets cooler above that. That causes weird effects, which is where you get the little bendy boom on the oil rig.
You can
Okay.
scroll back up to Carnivore's picture. Carnivore put a side by side of what you normally see compared to what the Black Swan saw, and that's basically what you'll see from the refractive effects.
Okay, okay. So, hold on. I have another question. I need to go look at the original, like the photo that they actually use. Hold on.
The
See, these are
Tollings argument
questions.
itself is not a well-constructed argument. It's not a valid logical argument. I actually got banned from QE's server for pointing this out to him, but he uses a poorly written and understood National Geographic definition pulled from the AWS website, or the AMS website, the meteorological website, about what a horizon is. And he conflates a geometric horizon and an apparent horizon for his P and Q argument. And he conflates them in a way that makes them synonymous. And that is not the case with us living here on Earth, because we're in an atmosphere with refraction. Refraction is always present. So when he conflates the geometric horizon and an apparent horizon, the geometric horizon is an understood horizon with no refraction, which we don't have because we live on Earth in an atmosphere. So his P does not equal his Q. So it is not a valid argument because they are two different definitions for what he's conflating as one. So it falls apart right there.
Okay, okay, gotcha. I had
And if you
another.
put a task on it and you say, quote Andrew T. Young, which is his own, he has quoted him as the field expert in refraction for atmospheric and terrestrial refraction. If you go to his website, which he has a website, he does atmospheric magnification and refraction studies. That's what his PhD is in. You can go there and you can pull a definition. He has a resource online that he uses for all of the terminology he uses for his papers. And you can pull his definition of a geometric horizon and an apparent horizon. And if you plug those into the Tollins argument that Quantum Eraser has made, it doesn't hold up. It's not a valid argument. And if you want to look up what a valid and a sound argument are in logic, I highly recommend it, because you can have valid arguments that aren't sound and they don't make any sense. And in his situation, it's not a valid argument or a sound argument.
Why that that where are they getting the 1.225 times the square root of the observer's height in feet from? Where are they getting
That's not wrong. That's not wrong.
No, I'm not trying to say it's wrong. I'm just trying to understand where it's coming from.
They built it out of they built a shortcut out of the Pythagorean theorem that you can use to find a tangent line on a circle.
Andrew Thomas Young, in his source, he does the math that derives that number. So
okay, yeah, that's fine.
I'll post that link. Hold on.
Okay, so they're saying that the horizon distance greater than 9.41 miles because that would make the what am I trying to say? They're saying that it would make the horizon distance greater than 9.41 miles because that wouldn't fit with the math for the.
Can you open up this link that I post right now? If you just open it up real quick, because this is what the other guy was talking about too, and this is what QE. Even though he talks shit about this guy, he used to post this more often, but he doesn't really anymore. But you'll see it just has two descriptions. It says, by the way, here's no refraction, just so you can see what the horizon actually means, with like geometric horizon, like what that one actually means. But with refraction, because we exist on Earth, like the ones that you'll actually observe is down below that. And he describes how to find the refraction. But up where he talks about the distance to the horizon, let me see. Yeah, actually, I don't know. I don't think he does actually derive. He just types it. He just puts it in there. I thought he derived the math somehow. But yeah, he puts it in here.
Well, he talks specifically about geometric horizons because he says it's a horizon distance measurement, and you would measure a geometric horizon if you were following just his P, because the sphere radius of 3959 is a geometric measurement, which is where you get the 1.22 from. That is also a measurement.
But those numbers are correct. So what QE's argument is wrong, but what he's stating, if you wanted to reword what he said to make it correct, first of all, you wouldn't make it an argument. You would just say, if the Earth is radius 3,959 miles, then the distance to the geometric horizon would be, the same thing, 1.23 times the square root of your height. And then you would have to define what that was. And then the next line would probably be like something like, that's the geometric horizon, but the actual horizon you see is going to vary due to atmospheric conditions. So that same distance is going to move forward and backward depending on what the atmosphere is doing that day.
He's also asking for something that's not actually you are able to do. He's asking for a horizon distance measurement, which would assume, just like you take a measurement with the 1.22 miles times observer height, you only visually see apparent horizons. There is no accurate measurement to it because of refraction. For an impossibility, because he phrases it ambiguously, intentionally ambiguously, to make his Tollins argument make sense to people who aren't scrutinists of it.
Also,
and one thing I've noticed about them is that they prey on people who really don't understand it, and then they get them to like concede with them because they just don't understand.
What course they have.
Yeah,
my dad even brought that up too. He was like, they literally prey on idiots. Like so people come in there all the time and like don't understand like the globe model itself. Like people come in there and not even know. Like they'll just be like, yeah, the Earth's a globe. Well, that's because that's what they were told, but they didn't really look into it, right? And so then these people tell them all this stuff about the flat Earth, and they're like, okay, yeah, you're right, but they just prey on idiots, right? Like if that makes any sense to you guys.
Of course, that's the only choice they have.
And I don't know if they do it on purpose. It's like they get a skewed view of things because it's true that most people just don't think about this stuff much. It's and the spectacle of it all is going to attract your sort of walker by or your sort of passerby to stop in and say, by the way, the Earth's a globe, you guys are crazy. And if they happen to stay, they're going to discover that they haven't really spent any time actually looking into it since high school, basically. So they don't actually know anything they think they know. And that's the trick, really, is the fact that they're revealing the fact that a lot of people just haven't looked into it yet. Then when you really do look into it, if they start to show you that
Yeah, got you. So about the black swan here. It's good that I'm getting to ask you guys these questions because if I were to ask them in there, they would just like shut me down really quick without like explaining it to me. Hold on.
It's a real server, Soda. It's a real debate server.
Yeah, Soda, I was going to ask you one other thing. If you want to get your question off first.
Oh no, go ahead and ask. I need to find this image first.
If you like this black swan thing, I mean, why would you use this as an example? Because of a known fake truth seekers, such as is it probably like from Nathan Oakley and stuff that's presented this to you?
Because yeah, that's what I don't get.
These guys are known fake. They're fake. Sorry.
It should come to your mind that a flat earther made this observation, so of course it's going to fit their model. But they didn't take into account the refraction, like you guys are saying, and the fact that you can't go out there and observe this at any time of the day. You have to go in those conditions and whatnot.
Yeah. So what you're going to think about is they're doing this to muddy the water. They're using a very small example. Now, if you was really looking for the answer of whether the Earth's flat or not, I mean, you've got great examples like mountains. You know what I mean? Large structures that you can see from hundreds of miles away, and that are obscured by obvious curvature and all these factors like refraction and fucking whatever they want to say. They don't come into play because the example's so large that you can't muddy the waters with that. So they have to use these small examples like light towers and oil tankers and whatnot because because they can play with it and they can get people like yourself chasing their tail. Now, you're just going to think to yourself, as if you're looking for the answer, there is much bigger and much clearer examples to do your homework on rather than fucking around chasing chasing your tail with these cunts. These cunts have given, they're broadcasting this stuff to people, and it's confusing and it takes a lot of research to understand. When there's clear examples of mountains being obscured, there's much better examples you can do your homework with that will give you your answer. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah, I just want to say something about the mountains obscuring you can't because of the curvature. Yeah, so the problem with that is that I've seen people come in there and give images like that, but this is what they respond with, and I'm not sure if this is a good response or what, but people will be like, well, you need to be careful with still images because you can manipulate these images. But so in the picture that Phil KO sent with the mountains viewed, I'm not sure what we're supposed to be looking at here. I'm not really seeing any curvature.
Check out the ship. Just moving.
Yeah, Koto's got a good one, and Phil KO has also give you another picture. When I went to debate Nathan Oakley, I showed him the Mount Rainier, and he just flat out denied it. He says, "Oh, it looks like it's reduced through angular size." And I goes, "What do you mean it's reduced from angular size?" And he just went with that and completely denied all aspects from it. He's a smart person. I mean, I shouldn't compliment him because he's a very not likable person, but he's smart enough to know the context between things, and he uses it very cleverly to manipulate his audience. Well, I just have a massive. He just gives me so much indicators that this is somebody that is intentionally manipulating his audience in order to keep the ball going, keep the ball rolling, so to speak. So, I mean, you've got a mountain that when you look at 55 miles away, it's gigantic. You can see the whole lot. You go 130 miles away, a lot of it's been obscured. No, you could never argue refraction. You could never argue all these things. All you can do is like, oh, well, how come it's been obscured by the ocean? It's exactly what you'd expect to see on a mountain. It's just flat in the face of flat earthers. That's why they don't spend time making videos about this and trying to muddy the waters. That's why they have to get these very specific samples where they've got loads of refraction and loads of manipulation in there, so they can really push that narrative that, oh, we're being lied to. Well, if we're being lied to, why are we looking at this small example? There is much bigger and clearer examples that we can use. Let's talk about them big. They don't want to talk about them. That's why they're not responding to them, because they can't muddy the waters with them.
You're using so many flat Earth puns, man.
My question with the GIF that Kosho sent is, how do you know that it's curvature obscuring? Because they always say it's due to the perspective of the observer. So how do you know that it's curvature, not like something like the waves or
something else like a wave or something? For several reasons. One of them being waves don't get that big, and two, like you can try to imagine, like when you really think about something like that ship, and I can show you the 2-hour video with it or whatever. But when you really think about it. And I mean, like, you honestly, if you come up with a conclusion that has to do with perspective or something like that, you have to really think about what you're saying, because that ship, that stack or whatever, the smokestack at the top of it, it's not like that's like if the whole ship is getting smaller and you can't see it, then why isn't that getting smaller and you can't see it? You know what I mean? It's like the ship is fairly huge and it's disappearing by big chunks. While the part that you can still see is still perfectly visible. So you can't really say something like perspective or something like that, because that really doesn't make sense. And same thing with the wave. Like when you brought up the wave, something about perspective is if something is above your eye line, like your eye line, like a perfectly level line from your eye, basically. So if something's below it, it's never going to be able to obstruct something that is above that. So if there's something like a wave that's below your eye line, it's not going to be able to obstruct something that's on a flat plane, at least, that's in the distance, that's above your eye line.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes a little sense. That makes sense, but I just don't understand why they don't think about that stuff. They just disregard that.
It's something else that I think you should consider is, why didn't that image get the black swan effect? Why didn't we see the boat, the horizon behind it for the entire, why do we have these two separate images, right? If one is such proof of one thing, and that one thing happens everywhere, why didn't it happen here?
Gotcha. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me. Yeah, that does get the wheels turning, for sure. Yeah, that's actually something good. I never really thought about it like that. Yeah. Why doesn't that apply? Yeah.
They don't allow things to get to that far. They're just, what they want to do is they want to get someone to explain something, trip them on a word, and then hammer them about that word, and then shut down the whole debate. So you don't get to think of things differently. You don't get to expand your mind and see what other people are actually saying, because he doesn't allow that.
But yeah, for sure.
The fact that he's using such a shit example as such a, like if I'm gonna make a point to somebody, I can rather use this little example here, or I can use a really big example, and people get the picture better when you use the big example. And they're too busy arguing over little things like light towers and oil tankers. I'm like, well, why are you arguing about that when you've got this mammoth mountain to look at? Why not argue about that? Because they can't attach bullshit to it, because it's completely just, it's in their face. They can't manipulate the audience. If you're trying to manipulate somebody and you're trying to take advantage of them, you do it sly, don't you? And you do it in a way that that you could get away with it. Sleight of hand, like a thief would be like a little distraction, but you couldn't really get away with it. Like if it was just, say there's only two people in the house, it can only be one of, and it's not you. It can only be the other person, can't it? But if there's loads of people, you can kind of. You can get away with it because there's loads of people. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah. So Oh no, go ahead, finish. I don't want to interrupt.
I've not really got much else to say. I just feel, listening to you, I feel like you're a victim of basically that's what he's doing. He's going out there and some people that aren't quite sure, and he's fucking shoving this bullshit down their neck. And you can all fall for it. And even myself, I come to a point where I thought, maybe there is a different explanation for why things appear to be curving over the curvature. Maybe there is a different thing, and I completely unlearned everything I've ever learned about it. Took their opinions on it completely, and then but if you're an expert in any other subject or something that you know much about, like, you should bring that to them and see what their opinions on that with, because they literally don't take anything, any sort of evidence or anything. They just deny all evidence. They denied me about evolution. Now I'm quite educated on evolution, more than I was about fucking horizons and fucking refraction and fucking whatever else they want to say, apparent horizons and all this bullshit. So I was a bit unsure. So I was vulnerable to his bullshit. But when he tried to talk to me about evolution, and he was telling me that there was no evidence whatsoever for evolution, that's when red flags went off, and that's when I realized.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I was taught evolution, so that's like all I know, right? Like they teach it in mainstream schooling. It's very it makes a lot of sense, right? Like when you really think about it, like I'm not gonna sit here and be an evolution expert, because I really only know the surface level of information about it, because I never looked into it. I was just told to memorize this information about it and then took a test on it, whatever, classic mainstream schooling. But I always really found evolution, so interesting, because it's just crazy how we evolved into what we are today. And but they totally disregard evolution over there. They have a really funny meme about it over there. Here, I'm gonna send it in the debate.
Don't you find it compelling, the stuff Witsit says about germs not existing?
Yeah, he doesn't believe in atoms and stuff like that.
Atoms. He doesn't believe in germs. He doesn't believe in electrons. He doesn't believe in light.
How can you not?
I don't know.
Branch, I did send my picture. It was there.
When I talked about fucking wisdom teeth and your tailbone at the bottom of your spine, or the muscles around your ears. You've got muscles around your ears from when we used to use our move our ears more. Now we've got useless muscles on our ears. So there's a lot of signs on your body to show that it hasn't been designed. You've got two kidneys. You got stuff on your body you don't need. We have bad knees, bad backs. We suffer from a lot of things. So it's obviously not a design. It's obviously there's a lot of signs of evolution. But when I tried to bring these obvious signs to him, he was just like, "Oh no, wisdom teeth, wisdom teeth." I'm like, "Yeah, why? They're useless teeth. That's a sign that we ain't designed, that we're evolved. Maybe God designed the first thing that evolved us into this. You know what I mean? Maybe that there was some sort of intervention, but Do you get what I mean? Like, to just completely flat out deny that you've got wisdom teeth and muscles around your ear was beyond me.
You know what, Bumpy? That's what I think is actually the most strange to me about evolution is that if you imagine just to the extent that we can, what's most likely for a god to do, what's the most elegant, most beautiful, most godly-like thing to do? It's to design the system of evolution. It's to wind it all up and then like just let it play out. Like you don't have to go in and fiddle with every single thing, specifically. You just create an elegant system that will do it for you and watch it run.
Yeah. I totally agree. I think that and it's more elegant that he created such a vast universe that all spiraled out and created something as well. Like, creation is very very lightly. I don't think that there's no possibility of a creator. I think it's a great idea, but just to admit that there is some great signs of evolution. It doesn't mean that there isn't no God, but he takes it like as a direct. He can't even look at the evidence of wisdom teeth or muscles around your ear and say honestly, oh yeah, that's a bit weird. Now that's somebody that's seeking for truth would say, oh yeah, even though I don't believe it, it is quite funny that we have wisdom teeth. But instead he's like, wisdom teeth? Oh, that's fucking stupid. She just blatantly.
You know what's funny, Corona Bunny? I was born without wisdom teeth. Like I actually don't have them. Isn't that funny? But yeah, I'm gonna step away for a second. I'm gonna go AFK for a few minutes. I'll be right back though. Y'all carry on. I'll be back though. I have some more questions. Oh, Corona Rummy.
You can call him Rummy.